What is going on, my YouTube friends, all my Patreon friends, all my audio curious? Are we audio curious people yet? Have we gotten to that point yet? Our friend TheBlackSpeed has just released a very important song, I would say, to him, and probably to a lot of us who have heard it. It is called CHEMO, and it is about his experience with an awful, awful disease, which I'm sure has affected most of us, probably if not all of us, in one form or another. And I thought I would show what I did to put my little mixing touches, my little audio curious touches onto this mix. I'm just trying to lighten the mood a little. But I'm gonna play the song for you through all, from top to bottom. You can watch kind of the meters and everything move around, and then we're gonna get into kind of some of the highlighted points of this mix. I'm not gonna go through and show you like trying to find the exact spot where the slider or the fader has to sit, and some of the more like kind of finite stuff. Unless you all want to see that stuff, you can let me know. But I'm going to show you like some of the processing and some of the things I've done. So let me switch over to the scene where we have Cubase, and I'll get my face out of the way for now, and we can give this a listen.
I was 22 when it happened to me. I'm just a heartbeat away, like 1, 2, 3. Pretty fishy when the liquid ran through me, trying to blow me away like I was Hootie. They call it Hodgkin's, needles giving me hot skin. The treatment's really good because the odds is that it's Scott wins. Though some will die from the course, it's just an option. Chemo's good cause if it kills, at least it's not sin. Just trying to get through the night, I really don't want to fight. I put my head on my lap, I hear too many voices. They trying to give me advice on what to do with my life. You want to be sick or dead, those are your only choices. They don't tell you that your brain may change, and even if the sun shines, you will still feel rain. They don't tell you that your life gets short then soon, and though you live right now, that your end's been moved. That everybody in your life will have to live your mood, and no apologies will help, even though they should. That you'll blame it on the chemo and it won't feel good. That emotionally you're hungry, but there is no food. I'm a real funny man, but even I took notes. That poison in your body for health, that must be jokes. I'm not trying to be a pessimist, but next to this is murder, and we know that's all she wrote. The symptoms creep up like haven't you ever heard of me? The chemo comes second, but first up is the surgeries. Gotta find the reason for pain, and it comes served with tea. Using pain to find pain, they'll say it's urgency. Take the pokes and cuss on you, smiling when the bleed is through. Never let them see you sweat unless you have a fever too. This is just a normal day, you think that you will have a say. You tell them that you're giving up is cool, but then you'll have to pay. Wake up, you're in hell again, trapped inside your cell again. Even though you're feeling sick, they'll tell you that you're well again. You're buying what they're giving you, though now you just make sell again. Bracing when that needle comes, retreat back in your shell again. It's just a symptom, don't have the time to list them. It's something like a headache with the force of sunny listing. While women choosing bears, I just choose to try and listen. I marvel at the strength while I try to keep the vision. Do you know what chemo stands for? Carefully handling every medical operation that I can plan for. If you blink and you miss, all my relentless, just know I have the strength in the fight like I was Nandor. I would wish all this bullshit on my enemies. You think you know what sickness is until you see the remedies. When curing you is just as bad as hearing people's sympathies, you'll understand why those of us don't listen to your entities. I don't want to sound ungrateful, I'm a real kind person and this didn't make me hateful. A look inside this industry that tries to keep you faithful, that it's hard to keep a smile when your days are always painful. We get through it though, but at the end of the day, I'm a survivor. I win still, one keep winning and a provider. This is for those who struggle to climb higher. Your sickness is a piece, but never let it define you. This is for those who struggle to climb higher. Your sickness is a piece, but never let it define you. Your sickness is a piece, don't ever let it define you.
Then there's just a fade out that happens with the rest of the beat there. Hold on. So, very emotional track, very heavy, very well written by TheBlackSpeed himself. So what happens at the start of this is he just sends me the beat. Like he gets these from a producer. He buys these from whoever. If I have their account, I will put the link to their account in the description box so you all can show some love to the producer if you like the beat. But I just get like a left and right. So there's not really a ton going on to this. I did do a little changing here. You can see the beat used to just roll through here. And I just added the same piano line. So it just goes like 1, 2, 3, and then there's a half note or a half bar pause, and then the beat drops again. So if we just listen to the beat in this section, you can hear kind of like what I did to it. So just clean cuts, just a little bit of playfulness to give us a little bit of difference in the beat, because like if we had all the stems, we might make changes to it, but that gets really expensive sometimes and it's time consuming. And, you know, it's not that we were on a timeline for this. We wanted it to be right, but the beat was so nice and fitting already, right? So what I actually get if I turn off my plugins here is this is what it sounds like. So to me, it's got a whole lot of kick drum, and I actually really like the kind of like snap sample or the snare sample, as it were. Even the hi-hat, like it's not just consistent like 8th notes or 16th notes. It's got a little bit of a pattern to it. So I just put on an SSL native bus, and so how this works is, excuse me, how like whatever you set the threshold at, it's only going to compress things that actually break that threshold, right? Anything underneath it, it's not gonna. So all the really loud stuff is going to be brought down, and the quiet stuff isn't going to really be touched to an extent, right? 2-to-1, this is just like the standard setup when you load this plugin. And then I've got the high pass filter on at 117.6. This is pretty arbitrary. Like I just played with it until it kind of felt right. And this doesn't actually roll off the low end like most times when you hear a high pass filter. What this is doing is this is filtering that out of the compressor. So it's not actually going to touch that kick drum. It's just going to filter or compress everything above that filter point, right? Your bass frequencies are a lot like bigger, I guess. The waveforms are a lot bigger than some of the smaller stuff. So like I'll roll this down and I'll bring it back up, and you'll hear like it compresses it way more when that kick drum's actually in there. So kind of lose the life of it, right? Kind of gives you a little bit of like that bottom end, but it's bringing up this like the snaps or the snare drum. I always hear snaps when I hear this song, so that's what I was trying to emphasize with that. So like I said, not too much going on in this. I try to get about 4 dB reduction. It is jumping up to like 6 or 7 here and there, but that's okay. That's okay. And then I also added a stereo enhancer. This is just like the in the box one that comes with Cubase. And again, I just played with this until it felt like it wasn't like pushed way over to the sides, but it is kind of away from the vocal a little bit, because we want to make sure that we have a big vocal. Bradley's voice is so nice, is so rich, and the words that he's saying are so important that I just want to make sure there's room for that. So I'll show you without, and then I'll show you with. So this is without. And then with. So it does actually have a little bit of movement to it. There's still that like heavy mono channel with the kick drum, but a lot of it feels like it's just moved out of the way a little bit, right? So that's the beat. Like I said, not a ton done to that. A little bit of cuts in the beginning just to give it kind of a little bit more drama. And in that section there, if I go back to where that actual cut is in the beat, which is right here, this is where we get the introduction of the kind of demon voice, the low harmonies voices. I have it listed in the effect. And that's just... to me, it's like the illness kind of trying to come through in the track, right? We have Bradley's words, we have his emotion that he put into it, but I wanted the song to feel like it had that sickness to it as well. So if I just solo up these vocals, should give me the effects too. Yeah. You can hear it happen right here.
If you want to be sick or dead, those are your only choices.
So it does fade in. Where's my automation on that? It's gonna be too hard to find. It doesn't really matter. You can hear it come in here.
Wanna fight? I put my head on my lap. I hear too many voices. They trying to give me advice on what to do with my life. You wanna be sick or dead? Those are your only choices.
It really jumps when that break happens right here, and then the beat would drop back in, right? So
sick or dead, those are your only choices. They don't tell you that your brain may change, and even if the sun.
So I just thought that was kind of fun's probably the wrong word, but a little bit of fun with it, right? When Bradley sends me vocals, y'all, they sound really good out of the box. Like, let me turn some of these off, some of this processing off, and y'all can just listen to this vocal because it sounds really nice. It sounds really nice.
still feel rain. They don't tell you that your life gets short and soon. And though you live right now, that your end's been moved. That everybody in your life will have to live your mood. And no apologies will help, even though they should. That you'll blame it on the chemo and it won't feel good. That emotionally you're hungry, but there is no food. I'm a real funny man, but even I took notes. That poison in your body for health, that must be jokes. I'm not trying to be a pessimist, but next to this is murder. And we know that's all she wrote.
So they sound good on its own. I really didn't need to change a ton from that, right? I started with like all the plugins turned off, and then I turned off the EQ too, and like not a ton happens, right? So really the big thing, excuse me, like if I pull one of these up, I've got a high pass filter at 100 hertz. This is pretty standard for me. I did a pretty steep slope on this. I found the 12 dB slope just wasn't quite doing what I wanted, so I went up to 24 and then 36, and then I went to 48, which is the steepest one that is offered in just like the presets of Cubase. You could make it more, like you could probably chop it off right at 100 hertz if you wanted, but this was cool. So what this looks like is this. I'll show you.
Creep up like, haven't you ever heard of me? The chemo comes second, but first up is the surgeries. Gotta find the reason for pain, and it comes served with tea. Using pain to find pain, they'll say it's urgency.
So really anything from like, 100 down to 50, it's really underemphasizing like those frequencies. And then behind that, it's basically cut out. And this is just like subharmonic information, y'all. This is just going to crowd space. It's going to take up room on the VU, and it's not really going to do anything for the actual vocal. You just really don't need that there, right? So I've removed that on all the vocals. It's nice and easy. Pretty standard too. Like if you walked up to an analog console and hit the high pass filter button, it would roll off at 100 hertz. So it's just like pretty standard, right? For processing on the vocal, I like using this Slate Digital, the virtual mix rack. The only reason I use this particular plugin is because I like this layout of it. Because otherwise we get, let me just get rid of this for a second. Like this is fine. I understand this, but just for my brain and just like for how things work with each other in line, I just like the visual of this. Like you could achieve this if you have like, a Neve preamp. This is the SSL EQ, a distressor, and a de-esser. You could put those in line like on your actual inserts, and that'd be fine. I just like seeing it all at once. So in order, I have the Neve preamp, the 1073, 1173. That sounds right. 1173, I think. Someone fact check me on that. It's a Neve style preamp. It's an emulator from Slate. This is an SSL EQ. I found that I put the high pass filter on here as well. To taste, y'all. To taste. I just like Bradley's voice has a lot of bass to it, and it was getting a little muddy, so sure, why not? Distressor EQ, distressor compressor. Wow, that's a tongue twister, isn't it? It's just one of my favorites. If I can use it, I will. Sometimes it gets too like harmonic rich, but for Bradley's voice, it kind of brought out that grit that's naturally in his voice already. And I do have the UA version of this. I just like it in this visual, right? And then the FGDS, the de-esser from Slate here, is really nice, y'all. I'll show you this with it off, and then with it on, you can see what happens here. Let me make sure that I got a spot where that vocal is actually happening.
I was 22 when it happened to me. I'm just a heartbeat away like 1, 2, 3. Pretty fishy when the liquid ran through me. Trying to blow me away like I was who? T.
So it's really not doing a whole ton. Like if you were lighting up this meter in the distressor to start getting more distortion, I've got it on distortion 2 at 4:1, which is just kind of like standard for vocals. 4:1 compression is pretty standard. I've been seeing lots of 2:1 lately in serial compression, but I didn't do a ton of serial compressing, so just letting this guy do the bulk of the work. And as you can see on this SSL EQ, like I've just got a little bit of the low end rolled out. So this is what, 364 hertz. Again, that's just to taste, play with it until it sounds right. And I pulled out a little bit more at 125, which again, I was just having a lot of low end, so I was doing a lot to play with that. The preamp is just like, I don't know what Bradley uses for his recording setup. I know he's got a 7B. I think he's got like a cloud lifter or something to give it like a little bit more volume, which is great. I just wanted something to be, again, a little bit more saturated. I'd rather add harmonic distortion like this than start gassing like this high end on the EQ and start just like cranking up frequencies, because you're just adding noise. Like when you're adding EQ, you're just adding noise. So try to be light on the EQ. A little bit of like surgical cuts, as some people call it, instead of like major boosts, right? So that's going to be the same on the lead vocals. We also have a dub vocal, which would be treated probably just about the exact same. So here's all the vocals again with effects on.
I was 22 when it happened to me. I'm just a heartbeat away like 1, 2, 3. Pretty fishy when the liquid ran through me. Trying to blow me away like I was who? T. They call it Hodgkin's. Needles giving me hot skin. The treatment's really good because the odds is that it's Scott wins. Though some will die from the course, it's just an option. Chemo's good because if it kills, at least it's not sin. Just trying to get through the night. I really.
So yeah, it's got a lot more of that kind of top sizzly stuff. It's not real airy. It's not like in the air, like, 10K plus. It's like in that high mid somewhere, right? So that is the majority of the vocal. The vocals all route into this vocal bus. If I was doing more tracks, I would probably have like lead vocals and then maybe like dubs and overlays, I guess you could call them. Dubs, maybe some ad-lib parts. I might have those on like a second part, and then I'd route those all into like a VCA or a master vocal bus. But with just like the 4 channels of vocals, this was fine. So the EQ I use on the master here is the Hozer. And of course, I've got a preset set up for Bradley. And this is going to sound a little counterintuitive because I've got a little bit of a boost basically at the spots I was cutting before, but this EQ just has like a different kind of tone to it. So you can watch this kind of happen.
Really don't want to fight. I put my head on my lap. I hear too many voices. They trying to give me advice on what to do with my life. You want to be sick or dead? Those are your only choices. They don't tell you that your brain may change, and even if the sun shines, you will still feel rain. They don't tell you that your life gets short and soon, and though you live right now, that your end's been moved. That everybody in your life will have to live your mood, and no apologies will help, even though they should. That you'll blame it.
So what'll happen is I was probably listening to the individual vocal channels like on their own, the stems by themselves, and I was probably doing my kind of making my ears happy from there. And then when I went to actually mix it against the beat, this is where I would do any of those edits, right? So that's probably why I started adding in some of that low end again. And like I said, this EQ just sounds like warm and buttery. So, and I really didn't go crazy with it. Again, you can see I've got a little bit of a cut here at 384, so a little bit above where the other cut was. And a little bit of air, not even quite air, 8,000 hertz. I've got like just the top shelf kind of pushed. And then everything that was rolled off, I just like lifted a little bit. So I don't really know how to describe that. You've got it like cut out, and then the information that's available to you, I'm boosting that. So it's kind of neat. I pushed the EQ in a little bit to get a little bit more of the actual tone from this guy. This is the Hozer from David Bendeth on Boz Digital. And it's just become one of my favorite EQs for stuff like this. Like it just has a sound to it. Like I say, when I turn that off versus on, it just has like a different life, right? So here's with it off again.
But on the chemo and it won't feel good. That emotionally you're hungry, but there is no food. I'm a real funny man, but even I took notes. That poison in your body for health, that must be jokes. I'm not trying to be a pessimist, but next to this is murder, and we know that's all she wrote. The symptoms creep up like haven't you ever heard of me? The chemo comes second, but first up is the surgeries.
See how much more like present it is, right? And that was just all I was looking for. Another odd thing, speaking of David Bendeth, that we do is on the group here, I've added mix delays. So this is really subtle, y'all. We're talking like in parts of samples here. So I've actually scooted the vocal back 20 milliseconds, which is pretty, I'd say that's like a long time almost for a rap vocal, but hey, it felt good. So all this does is it literally just takes wherever the stem's sitting, and it moves it back 20 milliseconds, whatever that is in samples. And there's like 48,000 samples a second or something happening. So it's hardly moving it. Like it's hardly audible. But for me, it gives you back a lot of the frequencies that are being kind of captured or taken from the beat. The beat has so much going on that it's just inevitably going to step on parts of the vocal. And this just kind of alleviates a lot of that for me. So I'll start with it off, and you can hear the vocal with the beat on. And then I'll turn it on, and you'll kind of hear what happens here. So this is off.
Apologies will help, even though they should. That you'll blame it on the chemo and it won't feel good. That emotionally you're hungry, but there is no food.
Now this is on.
It's been moved. That everybody in your life will have to live your mood, and no apologies will help, even though they should. That you'll blame it on the chemo and it won't feel good. That emotionally you're hungry, but there is no food. I'm a real funny man, but even not.
So that to me works pretty good. A lot of folks will use maybe soothe or like a fab EQ or something on the beat, and when the vocal is giving you its harmonic information, it's pulling those subtly out of the beat. But this works I know it's a very different thing, but it works for me kind of the same. Like it does the same thing for my brain as what those other tools do. And with those other tools, to me, it's like you're retracting from the beat instead of making space for the beat. So that's kind of the idea, the ideology that goes into that. Off this main vocal bus, I've got my effects run from it as well. You could run them off of each individual vocal, but now you have like multiple instances of it happening. And since these vocals are running into this one vocal group, and I didn't really need like a bunch of things to change, the ad lib isn't delaying differently than the lead vocal. I just did it all from here. So the first one up, this is in pre-fader. This is heat. So this is just like distortion. As you can see, I've got it ducked way down. This is just trying to give me more of that sibilance on top, right? So again, instead of EQing really hard and instead of like boosting like, you know, top end, I'm using harmonic information to do that, right? So let's see if this will give me a good solo.
I took notes. That poison in your body for health, that must be jokes. I'm not trying to be a pessimist, but next to this is murder, and we know that's all she wrote.
So that's like pretty intense, right? This Heatwave plugin's kind of cool. This is another Slate product. I've got it just cranked. I've even got it turned up on the input. And I just thought it sounded pretty good. It got pretty boxy on me, so I did do a little bit of a pull at 706 hertz. And again, this is just arbitrary, y'all. You can move it around so that it sounds right for you. But if I turn this off and then back on, I'll just show you.
The symptoms creep up like, haven't you ever heard of me? The chemo comes second, but first up is the surgeries. Gotta find the reason for pain, and it comes served with tea. Use the pain to find pain, they'll say it's urgency.
So it just made it, like, it gave it a little bit more space, so it just gave me what I wanted, which was that top end majority clarity, right? I've also got it smashed with the distressor. This is the UA distressor. Like I've got this, 10-1.
Take the pokes and cuss on you, smiling when the bleed is through. Never let them see you sweat unless you have a fever too.
And you can see, like, you know, I've got it on distortion 3, which is a little bit more distortion than the lead vocal. But that's what I wanted. I wanted like a distorted vocal. So we've actually got it down kind of in the mix here.
This is just a normal day. You think that you will have a say. You tell them that you're giving up is cool, but then you'll have to pay. Wake up, you're in hell again. Trapped inside your cell again. Even though you're feeling sick, they'll tell you that you're well again. You're buying what they're giving you, though now you just may sell again. Bracing when that needle comes, retreat back in your shell again. It's just a symptom. Don't have the time to
So so that's like basically it's a parallel compressed distorted vocal is effectively what's going on. And since it's coming off the lead or the vocal group, all the vocals are being sent to that. So everything's happening to that or is sending into that channel there from the vocals, which is all 4 vocals here. So that's everything that went into Bradley's latest drop called C.H.E.M.O. I highly recommend checking it out, man, and supporting the boy. He's obviously been through a lot. He obviously deserves it. I'm going to have the link to his video in the description box. And if y'all are interested in any of these plugins, I'll put the websites in the description box too. They don't sponsor me. None of these are sponsored or anything like that. These are just some of my preferences. And yeah, y'all have fun out there. Tag me and let me know if you have any questions. If you want me to work on your music, my email is in the about section of my YouTube channel. And let me know what you're working on, man. Let me know how I can help. We'll catch y'all on the next one.